Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We've been coming to you live from CES in Las Vegas, Nevada, and joining me for this segment now, we have Mark Marex, Senior Director of Index Research and Development at Nasdaq Global Indexes. Mark, it's great to see you, as always, whether we're in Vegas, New York, or otherwise. It's interesting, we've had a number of Nasdaq-listed companies on the show. Now we're going to get Index's perspective. So tell us what you're doing here at CES and the panel that you had co-moderated with Invesco yesterday.
Yeah, sure. So, from a very high level, right, our job at Index Research is to support and position the Nasdaq-100 index and a lot of other indexes at Nasdaq that we cover in the most informative light, right? And so it's a tech-heavy index. It's an innovation-centric index. There's a ton of tech and a ton of innovation happening here. So from a pure sort of learning about what's current in innovation, it's a great place to be. There's nothing like it. Other than that, we were here to do a panel with Invesco, like you mentioned yesterday, a research panel to talk about how the Nasdaq-100 and the QQQ ETF that tracks it offers investors access to that type of innovation that you just really don't find that level of concentration in other products. So we had on three fantastic Nasdaq-listed companies that are in the index. Autodesk, which has been around in and out of the index since 1989, if you can believe it. And then also Synopsys, fantastic semiconductor company, came in December 2017. And then ARM, which recently re-IPO'd on NASDAQ and then got added to the index sort of early last year. So we had a really, I thought, engaging conversation about what is their philosophy to R&D? How do they approach the basic task of iterating on innovation and developing IP and building company value based on knowledge, right? Applied knowledge. And then also the fun topic of AI, like how do they fit each within the AI ecosystem? How's it impacting them? How are they allowing it to impact their customers and drive better outcomes? We had a blast.
A couple things out of what you just said, and thank you for sharing that. One of my favorite charts that you and also Invesco shares with me is the investment to R&D and how that translates into the performance of NASDAQ 100 companies. And we look at those types of charts all the time. But you had also mentioned it's a tech-heavy index. And for some context for yourself and for our viewers, this is our third year covering CES and TradeTalks, and we're in what was the EV hall. And you kind of see the cool cars that automotive companies brought out. It just, 3 years, about 2.5 years, this hall is almost every industry as it relates to electronification. So we have the industrial company over there, tractor companies, all the automotive and OEM companies you'd expect to be here. So even though it's a tech-heavy index, there's multiple industries being represented in this hall, which is all about automotive tech innovation and electronification. And that's what's super exciting about it. And we've heard from a number of NASDAQ-listed companies and how they're leveraging NASDAQ 100 company technology to provide their solutions to clients and partners. And I find that amazing because we can see how this ecosystem works and how it does translate to that performance that investors care about.
Indeed, indeed. It is really cool to see, I think, in person. You can see the tangible connections and the networks that are evolving. There's a ton of NASDAQ 100 companies here, other NASDAQ listed companies that are smaller, startups that are showcasing products like robotic assistants, all these different things that are starting to integrate AI into being able to deliver, products, services for people in the home, in the enterprise. And when you look under the surface, right, like what are these products running off of? They're running off of Llama, which is Meta Platform's leading open source AI model, right? That is how the sort of from the software perspective, AI is getting translated into new products that are coming out on the market, right? How are those processes actually being computed on an ongoing basis? In this one particular example, we saw chips from Qualcomm under the hood, right? And Qualcomm's not even, a Mag 7 name, an Elite 8 name. It's sort of like one of these sneaky powerhouses that are always just outside that very biggest cohort of NASDAQ 100 companies, but they're absolutely integral, right? When you think about how many smartphones run on Qualcomm chips, and they're constantly iterating, and they're known as being one of these champions of patent, not just development,
Right,
but
patents.
defending patents over years and decades, and they have this incredible patent lobby. If you ever walk into their headquarters in San Diego, they show all their patents, tens of thousands of them on the wall. That's how R&D and innovation centric they are, and a lot of these other companies are just like that in spirit.
It's really interesting because we had another Nasdaq 100 company, Micron, on this morning with their senior director of automotive, and to hear them tell this story, when you think about Micron, semiconductor company and so forth, where their strategy really has shifted into automotive first. And so again, it goes back to your point where it could be tech heavy, but this is such an innovative multi-sector industry index that's being represented because of the tech leadership that we see here. Those solutions are powering the next wave of innovation across every sector.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a difference between saying you're a tech company because that's how you're classified, right? Versus being tech enabled, right, and tech driven. So, for example, the classification system we use, Tesla's not a tech company. Tesla's a consumer discretionary, right? Same thing with Amazon.
I was just going to say Amazon.
Because Amazon's in the retail business and that's still where they make most of their revenue. But guess what? Amazon owns the biggest, the most impressive cloud computing platform on the planet, known as AWS. And when I think about Amazon, I think about it as a tech company more than anything else. And I'm glad you brought up Micron, because yesterday a bunch of us went to Jensen Huang's keynote. CEO of NVIDIA, incredible presentation to see how they are continuing to build on their leadership position in semiconductor design, and they called out Micron several times, because the really exciting thing, especially for semis, but a lot of the names in the Nasdaq 100, even outside of semis, is that this AI revolution, even though NVIDIA has been the spotlight name for a while now, is spreading. There's a whole ecosystem developing. It's names like Micron that you need leading memory solutions to be able to scan your physical environment for all these self-driving and automotive applications that you're starting to see AI get integrated into automotive, for example. NVIDIA cannot deliver that solution without partnering with Micron. And they called them out several times last night. So you really see it day in and day out here. It's a fantastic place.
And that's what's great. We talk about the ecosystem, and we're seeing how it actually works together. Because again, the head of automotive at Micron talking about memory and storage. That is the backbone for powering intelligent auto tech. So to see how they all interact together, I think it's a great learning experience as well as being something pretty cool. All right, Mark, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me from CES. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.